Senator from Wisconsin.
Madam President, let me first say I wish that this chamber was full of our colleagues to listen to my Republican colleague, the senator from Pennsylvania's description of what this bill is and what this bill isn't. And it's not a COVID relief bill. And Senator Toomey did an excellent job. I'm hoping people are watching it on their TV screens because they really can't be reading the bill yet because it's not constructed. I don't want to repeat with the senator from Pennsylvania all the excellent points he made, but I want to come down because I think we've grown immune to these vast amounts of money. I always knew we were going to be in big trouble when we stopped talking about hundreds of billions of dollars and switched to talking about trillions of dollars. And so we talk about 1 trillion or 2 trillion. It just doesn't sound as much as a couple $100 billion or $800 billion, which was the stimulus package under the Obama administration. The fact of the matter is we have already authorized $4 trillion in COVID relief. That's 18% of last year's GDP, and roughly $1 trillion is yet to be spent. Some of that isn't even obligated. And here we are, we're going to be debating over the next couple of days $1.9 trillion. So I just wanted to come down here to the floor and try and illustrate what a massive amount of money $1.5 trillion is, or $1.9 trillion. You have to use analogies. Again, the human mind really can't contemplate what a trillion is. I found this first analogy, my wife talked to me about it, in terms of time. So this one is simply talking about if I would give you, Madam President, $1 per second, $1 per second, how long would it take me to give you $1 million? When you see the chart here, it would take 11.6 days. Again, $1 per second, how much for $1 million? 11.6 days. Next question, how long would it take you to accumulate $1 billion? Again, you do the math, you find out it would take 31.7 years. That's back when the Chinese had their protests in Tiananmen Square. So the next question is, what about $1 trillion? And this is what becomes mind-boggling. If I gave you $1 every second, and I wanted to give you $1 trillion, it would take 31,688 years to give you $1 trillion. That takes us back to beyond the last glaciation period, a period in time when Wisconsin was under a mile-thick glacier. By the way, quick little aside for my colleague Senator from Rhode Island, since that point in time, about 20,000 years ago, the water level in the Bay of San Francisco has increased 390 feet. Now that's global warming. That's a rise in the sea level, but that's what happened through natural causes. But that was an aside. So how long would it take to accumulate $1.9 trillion? 60,000 years. Over 60,000 years. Again, to put that in context, the human race began to develop language about 50,000 years ago. So that's the time analogy. Another way of looking at this is through distance and volume. So here's the calculation. I should have brought a dollar bill to just demonstrate its thickness, but the thickness of a dollar bill is 4.3 thousandths of an inch thick. So to illustrate how much $1 trillion is, let's start with $1 million. If you stacked $1 million bills on top of each other, they would stack up to be 358 feet high. You can see the calculation here. 358 feet, that's about a 30 to 35 foot story building. So how big would a stack of $1 billion bills be? It'd be 67.86 miles. Now, there's something called the Kármán line. I think I'm pronouncing that right. That's the point where the atmosphere ends and outer space begins. That's at 62 miles. So a stack of $1 billion would actually exceed the atmosphere and extend into outer space, 67 miles. So again, the next question is, well, how big would a stack be of $1 trillion bills? Well, it's 1,000 times that. So it'd be 67,866 miles high. That's an astonishingly large stack of dollar bills that equals $1 trillion. But again, we're not talking just $1 trillion. We're not talking about just 67 miles worth. We're talking about $1.9 trillion, which would stack up to 135,732 miles high. Now, Madam President, the distance to the moon is 238,900 miles. So that stack of $1.9 trillion worth of $1 bills would be more than halfway to the moon. That is what we are debating, spending. A stack of dollar bills that extends more than halfway the distance to the moon. And this is at a point in time when we're about $28 trillion in debt. That single stack would be over 1.9 million miles. Or if you put it relative to the moon, that would be 8 stacks, 7 stacks that go directly to the moon, and one further stack that's 95% of the way there. These are astonishing sums that we're talking about, and the majority party here wants to jam this through a reconciliation process, no consultation with our side. Just blow it through here, 20 hours of debate, a vote-a-rama, pass $1.9 trillion in spending, and go home, having no consideration whatsoever of the fact that we are mortgaging our children's future. At some point in time, there will be a day of reckoning, a debt crisis, and it won't be pretty. My suggestion, at least, as we consider this, is let's actually have a debate. Let's have a discussion. Let's consider the amendments. Let's not do this in 20, 24, or 30 hours. Let's take the time to seriously consider what we are doing to our children in contemplating spending a stack of dollar bills over 135 miles high, extending more than halfway to the moon. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.